Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so I have to say I appreciate everything so much, guys, because yesterday was my best day ever with YouTube. I got so many views on my video. It just blew past my previous video. I had 3,100 views on the video before. In this video, I posted my last video, just demolished stats. So very much appreciated. Salamat, muchas gracias, merci beaucoup, shukran, obrigada, if you have a different language that I'm not speaking, that you're native to, go ahead and let me know in the comments, and I will make sure that I speak that language to you next time. But I appreciate it, guys, so much. And we are in the second day of the Airthings Champions Chess Tour, the Airthings Masters. And so this is the second game of the second day. So it's round 6 total. And it's Wesley versus Nepomniachtchi. Now, as always, at the end of the video, I have the answers to the previous chess puzzle, and I have a brand new chess puzzle for you guys. I have like billions of them, so I don't think I'm ever going to run out. But as always, get that hooked up right. Bam. As always, if you appreciate my content, please subscribe, like, throw me some comments. Just like you did yesterday, it was gangster. All right, cool. So if you guys are ready, let's take a look and see what we have for this game here. All right, so we have D4. We got knight to F6, got C4, G6, knight to C3. We have D5. So we have the Grunfeld on the board. So, like I say, for those of you that, that like throwing out chess openings like Sicilians and Grunfelds and King's Indians, this is right up your alley because this is the famous Grunfeld. Now, you have a lot of players. I don't personally play the Grunfeld from either side, but you have a lot of players that say that the Grunfeld is a poor opening and it's kind of busted. I personally don't know. Like I said, I don't play either one. It seems like it should be good for white, but it seems like it's competitive enough for black. So we have pawn takes d5, knight takes d5. We got e4, forcing the issue with the knight. We have knight takes c3, b takes c3. Got bishop to g7. All right, so we got knight to f3. And we have c5. As I always talk about with you guys, whenever you have a nice pawn center, especially like with the little support of the c3 pawn, black's intention is going to be, or just, the opposite color's intention is going to be to try to break that down as much as possible because, this is just a really nice structure for white. So sometimes, you'll have openings where like a f5 will come and stuff like that. But, c5 is going to be the strongest move in the position here because, of course, if you were to take here, it just, horribly damages your structure. It makes it a little bit easier for black. So we have rook to b1, and we have castles. So bishop to e2, pawn takes d4. We got pawn takes d4. Got queen to a5 with check. So bishop to d2. And so far, we're going down main lines. These are pretty much the top moves that we've been making so far. So we have queen takes a2. And so we have castles for white. Now it might seem like white has just given up a pawn for no reason. But if we compare white's position to black's position, yeah, they are down this pawn. But as you can see, pretty much every single piece for white is developed. The queen just kind of needs to get moved somewhere. But as you can compare it to black, the only piece that's really moved is going to be the queen. And so, you have this bishop that hasn't moved, this knight that hasn't moved, this rook that hasn't moved. This rook as well. It castled, but it hasn't really moved. And then their pawns are still kind of on their home ranks. So when you're looking at positions, it's not always about the material. You have to take a lot of different things into consideration. The development of the player, the tactics possible. And so right now black is behind a couple tempo. Usually when you have a player that's behind in development, it could be worth a pawn. So white is actually doing very good here. So going forward, we have bishop to g4, and we have rook takes b7, which is it's a pretty obvious move. To move rook to b1, you're waiting for that bishop to develop so you can just snap the pawn off. Another alternative, which is pretty strong, and it just does, it serves good purpose, is going to be bishop to g5. And what it does is it just it allows the queen to, you know, defend this pawn. And, you know, it moves the bishop out of the way because the bishop was kind of blocking a little bit. So we probably see something like h6. And then we see the bishop come back and redirect to e3. And so we're just adding as much support as possible to this point. And, you know, we've cleared the bishop out of the way here. So you probably would see something like knight to c6. You see d5, knight would come to a5. You see bishop to c5, just, you know, attacking this pawn here. And as you can see, it's not really easy to push it because white would just push. And then you've given them a pass pawn. So you never want to give your opponent pass pawns because pass pawns can be very, very valuable because a lot of the times when you get a pass pawn, you know, the opposing player is going to have to use one of their heavy pieces to block it. So you definitely don't want a rook having to come over and block a pass pawn. So going back to what we had, we did have rook takes b7. So we have bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, and we have bishop takes d4. And so we see e5 played in the game. And so if we go back to the position right before that, if you guys want to go ahead and pause the video real quick, it's not a tactic, but there is an alternate move that's just as strong, if not possibly a little bit stronger than e5 that's been played. It's the #1 played move. I'm curious, there's two moves. There's kind of really two moves in the position other than e5. One seems kind of obvious. One doesn't really seem obvious. It kind of seems like it just wastes time. So I'm curious to see how many people would find this this #1 top move. So if you want to pause it and catch back up with us, we'll be chilling. Yeah, and I realized I did the thing again with like I don't know. That's my thing too. I do this anyway. And so the move. One of them was rook takes e7. That was definitely a move also, just getting another pawn back. But the move was bishop to b4. And so what this is a multi-purpose move. So what it does is it does attack this pawn here, but then it also discovers an attack against a bishop. So it does a couple of different things. And so you most likely would see like a rook to d8. Challenging that queen. Of course, you know, you can't leave the queen there because you're going to see bishop takes f2 with check. And then you're just going to be picking up the queen. And so you'd see a sidestep of queen to c1. Knight would come to a6, allowing bishop to take on d7. After rook a to c8, you see queen to g5. And this is actually a very, very good position for white. And so going back to what we had, we did have e5. And so knight to a6 comes. And we see rook takes e7. So rook a to d8. And so we see e6. And this is actually the novelty of the game. It has never been played before. So it is a brand new position. I mean, personally, it looks really crazy to me, like the whole game up to this point. It's all looked crazy novelish like. But yeah, so we do have this e6, forcing, you know, the pawn to take on e6. And so we see queen to e1, just adding a double attack onto that pawn there. And so we see knight to c5. So bishop to e3. And then we see knight to d3. And so we're actually going to be doing a queen sacrifice here. Bishop takes d4. We have knight takes e1. Rook to g7 with check. We have king to h8. And so we see rook back to d7. We see king back to g8. Rook to g7 with check. Rook to h8. Rook to d7 with the discovered check. Of course, you know, this bishop is continuously checking this king here. And then there's only one place for the king to actually go. And so the king goes back to g8. And after rook g7 check, we have a draw by threefold repetition. So that was the game there. You know, as you guys can see, I mean, you gave up a queen. So you kind of had to do something pretty drastic because if not, you're going to lose. And you never want to lose, right? All right, so going to the chess puzzle we have. This was the puzzle I gave you guys last time, and it was the hard level of the what was it? What was it? The interference. Yes, interference. So it's like an interposition. So it's like kind of like when you get checked, you have to interpose a piece sometimes in a way. It's kind of like that. You're trying to break the connection because as you guys can see, you know, you clearly have a check here. And so the move was rook to d7. I feel like everybody pretty much would have got this because it kind of followed the same pattern as the other ones. But you would see bishop takes d7. The queen would take f7. King would go to h8. You see bishop to c4, knight to g6. The queen would come to g8, forcing the rook to take, and then you'd have a smothered mate on f7. And moving to the next one, this is a double attack. And so, like I say, guys, if you want to set it up on your board, and kind of take a look and see what we're looking like, or you can use a chest engine or something. Don't run the engine, but you can, sometimes I'll set a board up on my chest engine and not run the engine, but just because I want to visually see it. So, let me know in the comments what you think the answer is, and how you like the video, how you like the background. I did change it. I'll be changing it for the next video, and I appreciate you guys stopping by. And we'll see you guys next time. All right.